Welcome to Officer Live. It's October 26, 2016, and thank you for being with us today. It's the only show of its kind focusing on law enforcement, for law enforcement, and by law enforcement. And for that reason, we need you to help us out. As we roll into our show, we're going to be here about an hour. Go to your Facebook page as you're watching us here and share this on your timelines to boost this as high as possible. The numbers have been incredible so far. We're building it each and every week. We couldn't be happier to do it, but you certainly can help us out with that. Very few people are saying these things about law enforcement. Law enforcement's taken an incredible hit lately, and so that's why this show is so vital and so important. We have Dr. Mark Sherwood with us today. He's going to talk to us about wellness and health and answer your questions. He's going to come on the show here in just a little bit. So until then, though, you can start sending your questions in the comment section. The wellness of law enforcement is of utmost priority for us. We've been very, very clear about that. And we want to talk to you real quick about an article on the front page of our website, lawofficer.com. And that article talks about the Blue Alert Law. In fact, it's right there on the front page right now under editorials. And in Oklahoma, as I speak, there's a homicide suspect that's also shot 2 Wellston, Oklahoma officers. It's been all over the national news. And not only did this guy do this, but he started broadcasting live on Facebook afterwards. It's been, like I said, it's all over the place. But what happened as soon as this occurred is Oklahoma just enacted the Blue Alert Law. What the Blue Alert Law is, it's similar to the Amber Alert or Silver Alert, where when an individual attacks a police officer, we can use the highway signs and media across the state to broadcast that suspect information. So Oklahoma, for the first time, was able to do that. This law was actually just signed into law last month. It was supposed to go into effect November 1st, but fortunately for Oklahoma and our citizens, they have implemented that now with this really coward that's on the run. So what's really vital about that, we talked about that in our article, was the fact that only 28 states have a Blue Alert Law. It's hard to imagine. Every state has an Amber Alert Law. That was 10 years ago, every state had an Amber Alert Law. Almost every state has a Silver Alert Law, which is for elderly people. Amber Alert's, of course, for young people. Very important laws, so it's really hard for us to understand why the same states don't have a Blue Alert Law, because it uses the same technology. It's the same system, so to speak. So check out the article. We've linked up to a couple of important resources for your state. If you don't have it, you need to ask your legislature to get that. President Obama actually did pass under federal legislation last year the National Blue Alert Law. He named it after a couple of New York City police officers that were tragically killed in the line of duty. And unfortunately, though, that law is stalled out with the Department of Justice. So the law's been signed, but it's not been implemented. Now, that law is just going to provide resources to each state to pass their own law. So it's going to be up to each state to make sure this happens. So check out the article, send it around to any of your legislators. That's how we make change. We can sit around and complain all day long, but until we take action, which is what we're trying to do here at Law Officer, nothing is really going to change. So check that out. We're here today for one important reason, because of a sponsor. That sponsor is BluArmor Supplements. We've talked about it on most episodes. We have some of it right here in front of us. The BluArmor Supplements are the first supplement company that was developed for law enforcement by law enforcement, and really the focus is what law enforcement needs to do their job and to do it safely and to do it effectively. We love the supplements. We wouldn't be pitching it if we didn't think it was awesome. I've been on it myself on several of them for the last couple of months. I can tell an immediate difference. We've had many of you in the audience that can tell a difference as well. And so check that out at BluArmor.com. And we've got Dr. Sherwood on today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. He helped develop that, and if he's for it. We're in 100% because we trust him implicitly. News item of the week. I know we're going fast. We have a lot to cover. And once again, share this at the bottom of your page if you haven't done so already. We want to boost this up as high as possible. Be sure to talk to us in the comment section. Send your questions in. News item of the week, very important article, front page of our site under the exclusive section. The respect for police is at an all-time high, while the respect for the media is at an all-time low. Doesn't that just warm your heart? Doesn't that just warm your heart? In fact, the only entity lower than the media is Congress. And let me tell you a little bit about the Gallup study. This has really confirmed what we have been saying for quite a long time. The media has sort of driven this wedge between law enforcement and the community for the last few years. And those of us in law enforcement, we simply haven't seen that. As I've said earlier, I've had more people thank me for my job, more people buy my meals, more in the last 2 years than 20 years before that. But the media, if you watch the media, you just continue to see how there's just hatred towards law enforcement, there's distrust towards law enforcement, and it just keeps driving that wedge between law enforcement and the community. And we have suggested here at BluArmor.com that has sort of been a made-up phenomenon, sort of a false narrative that the media has been pushing. And here we have this week, the Gallup study has come out, completely unbiased. It's a complete random study of citizens in our country, and they've reported that 78% of Americans think they highly respect law enforcement. In fact, only 7% don't respect law enforcement at all. In fact, it's kind of funny at 7%. We've often talked about just the 10% that seem to hate us, right? Well, it's right there on the money. 7% is what Gallup said. And that is unbelievable, and that's important because they've been taking this study since 1965. And this is 1 point away from its all-time high. Now, you in law enforcement should be encouraged for this, that even though the media is saying one thing, the citizens of our country are saying quite a different thing. We went on in this article that we talked about, once again located on the front of BluArmor.com, we pulled what the latest study was on the media. The media, while we have a 78% highly respect figure, the media is in the low 30% highly respect figure. In fact, they are at the lowest they have ever been since 1965. And once again, poor Congress, the politicians out there are even lower than that. So here we have these two entities, Congress, politicians, the news media, that have just been hitting law enforcement over and over and over. And you've taken the high road. You continue to do your job. You continue to safeguard your communities. You continue to be a hero. You've continued to run to gunfire. You continue to do your job despite this, and now you should feel encouraged that the truth, the reality is that you are as well respected now more than ever. And so check that out, send that around, share that on your timeline. Very, very important for you to know, and you should be encouraged for that. Now, if you've been tuning into us, and if you haven't, you can go to LawOfficer.com. At the very top, you'll see Law Officer Live. It's a link to all of our archive videos. We broadcast live on YouTube. As soon as this is over with, you'll be able to see this episode on the front page of our website off our YouTube channel. So we get more views after the live event, obviously, than we do during the live event. But it's important to check some of those out. The information is vital. No one else is really putting this type of information out there, so we have to thank you for that. The more you watch, the more it enables us to do that. But a very important partner, if you've been tuning into us, that we've just recently brought on board is In the Line of Duty Films. There's a lot of people trying to do what In the Line of Duty has done. They've been in business for over 20 years, but it is basically full documented videos, document fashion, hour-long, sometimes longer, of detailed police incidents, real incidents that they break down for training purposes. In fact, not only can you watch this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week online, you can also order DVDs. Some of you are going, DVD, what's that? Well, it's very valuable. You can still order those, but not only can you watch this online, when you get done, you can take an exam, take a test. These are fully certified for your state, so you can literally get training hours throughout the year, throughout the day in your agency. If you're a training manager, you can monitor that and log that. In fact, there's no way to cheat. So many of these so-called training companies put out 2 or 3 minute video, and it's really an entertainment package is what it is. This is true training. And as a training manager, I actually tried to cheat one time and tried to take a test I watched the whole video, and it actually caught me, said, no, you didn't watch the video. And so this will validate your training, and we cannot speak highly enough about that. So go to their website, In the Line of Duty Films. They will give you a 2-week free trial. So you don't lose anything. You go check it out, and you're going to see hundreds of training videos. And in today's litigation, today's civil liability and law enforcement, you need that. You need to say how much training you're getting. And so we'll talk to Dr. Mark a little later because he used to be in training, and I know he used to use In the Line of Duty films. We talked to him a little bit before the show, and he has great things to say about it, so we'll mention that to him as well. But not only will you get a free 2-week trial if you go to their website, if you mention that you heard about it here on Law Officer Live, they're going to give you a discount on the subscription. They charge a subscription to get access to these videos after those 2 weeks. I can tell you right now, I'll let them explain the cost to you. I know what everybody else is charging. I'm telling you right now, it's the deal of a century. So you got to check it out. So with that said, we're going to show you a portion of just one of their videos, and we'll talk about it briefly, and then we're going to bring Dr. Mark Sherwood on, so stay tuned for that.
Very fidgety. You can tell he'd been under the influence of some kind of narcotic, by his hand movements, his facial expressions. He was very fast at giving statements, so you could tell he was under influence of some type of narcotic.
Wallace was processed at the PD, and because he had spilled lighter fluid on his pants, was instructed to change into paper pants at the jail, which he did. And then things got even more bizarre. When he was walked out of police headquarters and back to Officer Green's transport vehicle for the trip to the Mobile Metro Jail. A TV news crew caught Wallace making off-the-wall remarks, seemingly strutting and letting the world know he wouldn't be in jail very long. Did he know something even then? Officer Green can be seen walking just behind, canted to Wallace's left side.
I told him make sure y'all get that hole 36 right there. You see that, don't you? You see that? There's a hole 36. If you want it, you can get a split. That's a 9 right there. You know what I'm talking about? Quarter of the penny, my time, what it is. I'll be out before I reach down there. Bigger than the mail on the neck.
Then, as far as Stephen Green could tell, the short transport to the jail was uneventful. But tragically, what he couldn't see was about to kill him. At the Sallyport entrance,
he came up, told the control room who he was. They let him right in, and there was only one other car in the Sallyport on that day, and he pulled in right next to it. And Officer Green, just by practice and habit, got out, secured his weapon in his vehicle, which we also have lock boxes available if the officers want to secure their weapon outside, outside of their vehicle. But most officers choose to secure it in their vehicle. And then he was very meticulous and particular about, opening the back door and then locking his car behind him.
and then the officer motioned for the prisoner to get out of the vehicle, which Wallace did. As is often the case at the jail, there was a bottleneck as subjects were being processed. The officer and his prisoner were forced to wait until two other prisoners in the small intake room were finished being processed. Right then, within seconds, everything went terribly wrong.
When Officer Green got the suspect out of the patrol vehicle, that the suspect was acting suspicious. He was acting odd to them. And they seen him with something that appeared behind his back. Officer Green was standing beside the suspect when the suspect brought his arm around in order to taunt Officer Green to show that he was no longer in handcuffs. When Officer Green went to grab that arm, the suspect came around with his right arm, and that's when he stabbed Officer Green the first time.
A slashing blow to the neck.
That was the line of duty film, Alabama Officer Stabbed. That's just one of hundreds that you get access to. That's just a small segment of that. Of course, the entire video, I watched it earlier today, is just absolutely brutal, but the learning aspects of it's incredible. Not only does it talk about the portion you saw there in that segment and the Sallyport, but it talks about the lack of search by multiple officers. It talks about an off-duty capacity. The off-duty officer did not have a weapon initially. He initially did go get a weapon. But a number of myriad of things. In fact, this particular video, you could literally spend a couple of days on. In fact, at the end of the video, it asked over 30 questions. And of course, the beauty of this is as a squad sergeant or as a squad leader, you can play the video, you can ask the question to the audience, your squad, and go over it and have a discussion about it. And it comes with kind of an answer sheet on what some of the answers should be. I literally can't say enough about it. The officer you saw there was Mobile Police Officer Stephen Green. Stephen was 36 years of age, and Stephen was actually the only officer that actually searched that suspect. And it shows you the dangers of what a knife can do. We often hear all the time about, oh, he just had a knife. We just had an incident here locally. Oh, he just had a knife. Well, you just saw in a split second what a knife can do, and especially if someone that knows what they're doing. And the reason I love line of duty is they do critique officer mistakes, but they do it in a very professional, very heroic way. Stephen Green's a hero. And the problem is so many other people will sort of badmouth law enforcement, but I love how In Line of Duty does it, because they honor the living, they train the living by honoring the fallen, so to speak. And that's what we have to do. And it's just done in a classy way. I can't say enough about it. You got to check it out. We're so very much honored to have them as a partner, and you're going to be hearing more and more about them. At the end of the day, if we're not doing our best to make officers safer, we're not doing our job here at LawOfficer.com. Of course, we're a business, but at the end of the day, we want to serve you. And serving you is giving you the greatest products that you can possibly get to help make you safer, introduce you to companies that have your best interests at heart. And without a doubt, the difference in the luxury that we have and our bosses give us is we're not going to partner with just anybody. It's not just about the bottom dollar. It's about what can help the law enforcement profession. And today, more than ever, that's what we need. So with that said, we're going to bring on our guest, Dr. Mark Sherwood. You know him, the man, the legend, the myth. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Did you see that? Hold up. That's what I'm talking about right there, baby. That's Dr. Mark right there. Mark Sherwood's been on our show many, many times. If you're not familiar with that, once again, check out our archives where he's had extensive questions and answers. And Mark is a retired police sergeant on the SWAT team, was in training and recruiting, just an expert of many, many things. But he retired and got his doctorate and is now works at a doctor's office and is just doing wonderful things. And he wants to still be embedded and spend time with law enforcement. And Mark's written a book. And Mark, I didn't bring the book with me, but man, I should have. What's the name of the book?
The Quest for Wellness.
And they can get it where?
On our website at sherwoodwellness.tv or on Amazon, of course.
It's incredible stuff. And we're going to ask Mark some questions today, some questions that have been on my heart and questions I know that you want to know. But once again, go into the comment section there on Facebook and type in your questions, and we'll try to do our best to get every one of them to Mark tonight. And Mark, you've been a huge help. I talked about BluArmor earlier, and I think sometimes people think, oh my goodness, they're pushing products and that. You know, the reason we went with this exclusive partnership with BluArmor, the only supplement company that's ever been made for law enforcement to help officers do their job, is you came to us and you said this is it. This is the stuff that law enforcement needs. And I've known you, of course, for a couple of decades, and I know your heart for law enforcement. I know there's really nothing in it for you. You just believed in this product, and so we're 100% in. Tell us why BluArmor.
Well, the reason we selected these particular formulations is because they meet needs. I mean, there's problems with law officers getting enough sleep, having enough energy, having the nutrients from a micronutrient perspective, what they need to be fully engaged through the course of the time. Do they have the ability to lose weight effectively and safely? All of these things affect us as law enforcement officers, and we wanted to bring the very best quality that's available in our country to this particular platform, because I believe that police officers and our law enforcement community deserve the best. They give their best every day. Why should they have less than the best? So we hand-selected these particular formulations that are the best ingredients known to mankind, really, to get them in formulations that are available through BluArmor.
Now, I believe there's 5 products altogether. You can look at all those on the website, BluArmor.com. But the first one that actually you came out with was called Active.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I'm like every other cop out there. I'm like I don't know about this, and you may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I've been kind of a supplement junkie throughout my life. I've sort of dabbled in some of that, and I go to the different supplement stores and check it out. And so it's been kind of it's been kind of fun. I know most stuff I probably tried is junk, but when you started pitching this product to me, I was kind of like, I don't know. Well, when I took Active, I'll tell you right now, I saw almost an immediate effect. And it really shocked me because I've never really felt that immediate type effect with other supplements. And I'll just ask you why that is.
Well, most people, Travis, around our country, and even in law enforcement or not, are taking a multivitamin, multimineral.
Which is Active. It has, I think, 25 vitamins and minerals and all packed in it, right?
And we want to know, why are people taking multivitamins and multiminerals? It's because the need is apparent out there. People know that the food supply is degraded. It's not providing all the micronutrients we need to run our metabolic, endocrine, all our systems in our body. So with that said, it's not just a multivitamin that just has the multifactorial vitamins and minerals in it. It's got the right amounts. It doesn't have minuscule amounts. It's got the right amounts to synergistically work together. And when you mention the title active, that's very important because law officers, especially, systems are very taxed. They're taxed because of a high stress load, a high hypervigilance, and so they especially need to be equipped to make sure our systems are running smoothly and effectively to do their job safely. And you mentioned officer safety. This is necessary. Your system has to be supplied to have proper safety.
Now, I noticed a lot of supplements, like I said, I've sort of been a connoisseur of this throughout my life, that you'll look on the back of the supplement bottle and it will just say, you know, compound such and such, and it really doesn't tell you anything, and so you sort of take it blindly. But when you look at the back of active, it breaks down every single thing you take. And why is that important for a supplement?
Well, you've got to be very savvy to look at products. You're going to see proprietary blends containing all
That's
these
the key, right? Because you don't know what you're taking.
And nobody knows really how much of each is there. It's proprietary. It could be a little bit of that, a lot of that, a little bit of this, and something else. When you're talking about individual ingredients, you need to know exactly what's in there. There's many, many reasons it's important, but suffice it to say, you don't want simply proprietary, you want specifics.
Yeah. I had a friend recently approach me and they says, you know, I don't think I need to take this product here because I can go to Walmart, or maybe I shouldn't have said Walmart, but I can go and I can get something that I think is the same for this cheaper price, and they're sort of chasing the cheap. And that's when you can really get into trouble with supplements with that, can you not?
Yeah, and it's important to know that BluArmor is not, and I repeat, not available to the public anywhere. You can't go find it at a supplement store, any retail store.
Well, what I loved
anywhere.
about it is you told me, you go, listen, this has got to come through a doctor's office. So
it has to. We have to specifically back this. This is a pharmaceutical blend created from a company that has very important GMP certification, and that stands for Good Manufacturing Practices.
Right.
The unique point about this that I want everyone to know is this, that to get a GMP certification, any bottle of active or any capsule that has that formula in it can be pulled out anywhere, whether it's in storage, production, or on the shelf anywhere, or sitting right here on our counter. And that capsule has to have exactly what that label says it has in it. If it doesn't have it, they don't meet the style.
And GMP is right here on the back of the label on BluArmor. I would challenge everybody out there, because everybody's got supplements probably or vitamins in their house. Look on the back of the bottle, and if they don't have that GMP certification, you got a problem, because all that's saying is what you're taking is actually what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're getting if it doesn't have GMP.
Well, I'm not going to tell you this. I'll tip my hat. I've looked at hundreds of different bottles at different stores, and I have not found the GMP label yet. And why does there simply not seem to be any rules or regulations with this? I mean, you would think that a supposed medicine or supplement should have some rules behind it. That's why it was important for us that if we're going to say this, what's in here, it better be in here and it better be good quality.
You know, there's got to be rules, and there are rules that are out there, but simply put, just to use a law enforcement analogy, there's not enough police to police the standards out there. It's great to say that companies have to follow the directions, but if you don't have someone checking them all the time, you're not going to be able to sufficiently give oversight to that.
Right. Joe has a question that just came in to us. This is what Joe says. Joe says, when I take multivitamins, and thank you, Joe, for the question. When I take multivitamins, I sometimes get a headache.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why that's happened and how can I fix it?
Well, obviously, when you take any sort of vitamin, if you have any adverse reaction, there's a problem. I would say to Joe, it may or may not be tied specifically to the multivitamin. It may be tied to the digestion process or lack thereof. When you take any multivitamins like this, you have to look for the term bioavailability. Is it going to be absorbed properly? And I would say to Joe, the likelihood that whatever he's taken is not absorbed properly because he's having a reaction to that. It's an inflammatory reaction. When you're talking bioabsorption, you're looking for specific quality of nutrients, and that's what these have. I would suspect if Joe were to take this multivitamin, the headache wouldn't appear. It wouldn't be part of the equation.
So it's about absorbing into the body.
That's right.
Because a lot of things you may take, but you're just going to secrete it right back out.
That's right. And you know, the old joke has been take a multivitamin that's not quality, and you've just made expensive urine.
Oh,
what it is, yeah.
And that's usually yellow.
It's usually very yellow, yes.
I've done that before, yeah. Interesting. So what makes a supplement more soluble than not? What's the process behind that?
Well, you don't want to have a bunch of chemicals or petroleum chemicals specifically as binders or agents that hold the substance together, and that's what you get a lot with the press caps. Just all kinds of petroleum chemicals, even rocks and stones and things like that that are put together. You want to make sure the nutrients are formulated and brought in from a quality supplier first and foremost. The nutrients in this one comes from Albion Labs, and Albion's been around for years.
Right.
They are one of the most well-known quality mineral manufacturers in the business. And it's also important to know when these come in from the front side, there is a multi-stage inspection process. These minerals from their origination have to be lack contamination. If they have anything lacking, they go back. They get tested every step of the process. So, you know, the likelihood of having a Joe situation arise goes down dramatically. You've got to make sure you get things that are absorbed, or you're not going to get anything out of them anyway. We don't want people to waste money, so we want to give them quality on the first forefront that they can trust.
Okay. How am I angling, by the way? Angling good?
Looking good. Okay. Very good.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, and by the way, I know we've asked Mark several questions about BluArmor. It's important to know that what you get is quality. I just asked our business representative earlier today, hey, is there any shipping on BluArmor? They don't have shipping on there, so you literally get free shipping tonight.
Wow.
So that's a big deal.
That's a giant deal.
If you hit it up tonight, you're going to get some free shipping. That's good news. Midnight, free shipping. So get on it. Now let me ask you this: a lot of law enforcement dabbles in testosterone replacement. It's not just law enforcement. I mean, if you watch commercials, you see a whole bunch of that. And I wanted to just get your take on that, because I know there's all kinds of things to think about when you start putting testosterone into your body. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, testosterone is more than a sex hormone. Obviously, it has
you said sex, so forward this on Facebook.
Yeah,
sex.
It's more than a sex hormone. It is one of the sex hormones. It is an anabolic hormone. It does promote muscle building and fat burning, of course. That's probably some of the draw, quite honestly.
That's the benefits of it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different benefits to that. We're talking about you know, sexual urges and desires. That's very important for any sort of relationship, and even self-esteem issues. So those are big deals. But when you're talking about any sort of hormone therapy, you have to first understand what's making it necessary in the first place. And typically what we're seeing today is people's hormonal pathways are becoming dysfunctional because of high stress and improper nutrition and lack of sleep.
Right.
I've had many people come to the clinic where I kind of helped them with stress management, gave them proper nutrition, and gave them things such as rest that we have to sleep. And when I did that, I watched, without any sort of testosterone supplementation, I watched the testosterone numbers from a man come up about 200 points in a couple months. So that's significant.
And that's without taking testosterone.
Without
some
taking
things you can do now.
Yeah, the body doesn't want to be hormonal dysfunction. It wants to be hormonal, have hormonal harmony. And because we're almost chasing the wrong tail, if you will, we're trying to address a low testosterone number without addressing the cause. And we have to understand the multifactorial causing issues with it. Now, when you're talking about hormone replacement, of course, you want to make sure that you're testing not just the total testosterone, but also the free testosterone.
Right.
If the free testosterone is what we're talking about, because testosterone numbers don't mean anything. What matters is how much is free. And when we're talking about a range, it's not necessarily higher is better. It's where you are operating the best and more smooth. You don't want to get too much. If you get too much, testosterone can convert to estrogen. It's in the same pathway, and it's a fine line.
So too much testosterone converts to estrogen, that's when we get the terminology bitch tits and things like that.
It's called gynecomastia.
Okay, I'm sorry. I probably should have said that instead, but I didn't know it. But I've heard people talk about the dangers of that. You know, you see all that in bodybuilders, people that do steroids, which is illegal. you know, well, I guess it's legal if it's not prescribed. That those are the drawbacks of that.
That's right, and you know, it's it can get so bad, that condition of gynecomastia, that people have to have a surgery procedure to get rid of it.
And that's why, if anybody's thinking about doing testosterone replacement, they need to see it, do it underneath a doctor's care.
Yeah, you know, my wife, Dr. Mark Sherwood, it's in our clinic. She's one of the best hormone experts in the world, and understands all of the functionality. I mean, there's more than just testosterone in the world. There's other hormones to be considered in the play. I mean, when you're talking about hormone maximization, you've got to control stress, you've got to control your nutrition level, and you've got to get some sleep. Doing that, that's going to elevate all of those things and make them work better. Don't just chase a number.
In the gym, there's sometimes, you know, I hear guys talk, not the Donald Trump way, but I hear guys talk about, no laugh for that. I hear guys talk about, I've talked to guys that have been on testosterone, and then I've talked to other guys that want to kind of keep that a secret. There seems to be this sort of stigma. I mean, even though they're going to a doctor, even though that it's needed medically, they sort of will feel like they're cheating somewhat if they're doing testosterone replacement. And I actually don't see it that way. I mean, I see it, it's like any other thing that a doctor would give you to help you. It's a benefit. So kind of talk about that mindset a little bit.
We start off with the term called menopause, and we know that women go through something called menopause. There's even the perimenopause, the premenopausal time that, by the way, can start 15 years before actual menopause begins with those symptoms. There's something with men called andropause, and andropause can have the same symptoms. We begin to become hormonally dysfunctional, and those signs can start several years before, and just like women, and we don't think twice about it. We've been dealing with menopause for years, and women have hormone replacement therapy. That's been a part of it, and that's a big discussion. It's been around a long, long time. But now this idea of andropause is kind of at the forefront, and it happens in men just as the same. And men get a little crazy, if you will, emotionally when you're not functioning properly, whether it be sexually or whether you continue to put on a little more excess body fat than you should. But it's something that people need to consider, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's called life. You know, and just because life happens doesn't mean you've got to give up on living. So maximize your hormones in every one of those ways possible that I discussed, so that you can stay as young as you can, as old as you can.
Well, I know that testosterone has some benefit to weight loss and increased energy, but BluArmor actually has a couple products that can help with that. One is lean. Talk about lean and what that does for hormones, because I know that I've heard you talk about it before with great passion, how there's really no product like it in the world.
You know, I have searched. This is extremely unique. Lean regulates 3 hormones, and we talk about hormones again. We got to talk about all the pathways. Lean regulates cortisol, which is your stress or your fight or flight hormone. It regulates insulin, which is your blood sugar regulator, and we all know when insulin is elevated chronically, that causes systemic inflammation and brings about or generates other diseases, conditions. And it also, lean regulates the hormone leptin. Now, leptin controls your cravings, and leptin tells your brain that you have enough fuel for now, so your cravings go down. Now, factor in that, what I just said, with the ability to maximize hormones naturally. So if we are taking hormone supplementation, lean goes right with it, because it maximizes the accentuating or adjunct pieces of the hormone puzzle. When you control these 3 hormones, cortisol, insulin, leptin, you're in effect putting your body into a fat utilization mode with a proper nutrient protocol.
That's excellent.
It's great. There's nothing like this in the country that I have seen anywhere, and I've looked.
How much does water play a factor in that? Because I know we get a lot of people who don't drink enough water, and when you're taking supplementation, when you're just trying to have energy throughout the day, what type of role does water play?
Well, hydration of the cells is critical. When a cell becomes dry, it becomes like a raisin, and we want our cells to become like grapes. Water is life. The people ask all the time, well, how much water should I drink? And by the way, as we approach wintertime is the primary time where we get mostly dehydration, if you can believe that, because we think less about drinking water because we perspire or sweat less, depending on what climate we live in. But a general rule of thumb is your ideal body weight. You take that number and you divide it in half. And if you can drink that many ounces of water per day, you should be in good shape. Now, with one caveat, If you are a heavy caffeine or a coffee drinker, of course, that's going to dehydrate you, so you have to increase that. So then you might want to come up another 20 or 30%.
Well, I know we have a lot of people in law enforcement that coffee is the mainstay, or and even more of the monster drinks. I hate to hammer on it, but it's so important, and it's so valuable. But the energy supplement that you have with BluArmor is incredible for that, to help you come off of the coffee with more of an all-natural caffeine. I'll just let you talk about that briefly.
I've used this particular formulation.
And this is the big bottle here.
Yeah, it comes in little Ziploc packs that are extremely convenient. That can be put in your uniform pocket or your just your pants pocket. And caffeine is a toxin, right? And I do a ton of genetic testing in the clinic, and we have determined that about 300 milligrams or so per day, it reaches a limit where the body can't effectively detoxify or rid the body of this toxin. And we know toxins are bad for our system anyway. Nobody wants to be toxic. Additionally, with too much caffeine, we've all had the caffeine crash.
Yeah.
The unique thing about energy is this. It does have caffeine, but it only has 95 milligrams. 95 milligrams, it lasts 3 times longer than your average 200 milligram cup of coffee. So that provides a consistent level of energy that doesn't have the caffeine crashes or the caffeine spikes. And we all know when we get too much caffeine, you feel jittery. We don't want to have a lot of caffeine for other reasons, because it accelerates or increases the speed of your heartbeat. And our hearts only get so much beat during the course of our lifetime. Why speed them up artificially? I have used this so many times to cut the caffeine down in people, which has been incredible. And we mentioned the dehydrating effects of caffeine.
Right.
So in effect, we can maximize our water again, maximize our cellular health by decreasing our caffeine usage and improving our alertness. To me, that's a no-brainer. And this is one product that everybody needs to have in their patrol car at all times. No kidding, it's that important.
One thing that I liked about it is I don't think there was any sugar in it.
That's right.
You know, and so it was all natural. You didn't have any of the, you know, when you go to the convenience store and you buy these drinks, I mean, it's just chock full of sugar.
That's right. And one thing to keep in mind about the monster drinks, 16 people have died this year from those things, by the way, because the caffeine listed on them.
We can't talk about a specific brand, Red Line.
Oh, there you go.
Ahead.
But 16 people have died, and it's really because of this massive load of caffeine. And a little label reading lesson here.
Right.
Caffeine is listed, but the ingredients that contain caffeine, the amount of caffeine those ingredients have, is not listed. So you have this.
It's that old proprietary stuff.
That's correct. It's a combination effect.
Okay, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, and you know, young athletes have expired on this before, and you just cannot go there. You just got to get quality, and I use this every day, and it has provided a wonderful piece of energy enhancement that's sustainable. And I have to stay in the game, just like a law enforcement. I have to stay focused within the process of dealing with patients.
Well, let's say, let's just be real. We have people in our audience that are just completely hooked on caffeine, massive amounts of caffeine, and you know, maybe they're working a lot of hours, extra jobs. How would, and you know, you can't just go off that completely.
Right.
So how would you talk to them about weaning off of that, or sort of the process behind that?
I'd say still get your coffee, go a half a cup of coffee instead of a full cup, and take the energy with that. It's a great, more or less a grape fizzy flavor, so it almost tastes refreshing like a soft drink.
Right.
You put it in some water and give it a shake, and it is effervescent, so it has a little bit of air in it. And then just sip on that, and over time, let the body adjust accordingly. If you feel better, that's going to be something you're going to stay with. And everyone that I put on this that has used it effectively, as I've said, they felt better.
If you're just now tuning in, you're watching Law Officer Live. We're here with Dr. Mark Sherwood. And you can watch all of our archive episodes at lawofficer.com. You just go up the top of the website and click on Law Officer Live. It's the only show designed for law enforcement by law enforcement, so it's very important for us to keep going. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you sharing it. And as I look at you, Mark, how old are you now?
52.
You're 52. I'm going to tell a secret that no one's really thinking, that he's in incredible shape. Right? You're in incredible shape. And I know we have people in our audience and they've tried a myriad of things and they're looking at you and they're thinking, well, I could never achieve that. And I can tell you right now, I'm not where you are, but I have seen incredible success by just listening to some of your advice. What would you tell people in our audience that are just kind of down and out, they're feeling lethargic, they look at you and maybe they want to be like you, but they don't think they ever can? What's the first step they need to take?
They need to understand that they are incredibly valuable, Travis. The law enforcement community, the reason I still stay connected because I have a heart for them. I know what they go through. I've been there. And you got to know how valuable you are. And wherever you are out there right now, anybody that's listening, know this, that the world is not a better place without you in it. You know, the world is a better place because you're here. You're incredibly valuable, so take care of yourself. I need you to do this. Right. Your family needs you. Your brothers and sisters in law enforcement need you to be safe. You know, don't try to be like anybody else. Maximize your own wellness. And we're trying to give you all the tools necessary to do that. You know, get on a good supplement program. Get on a good nutrition program. Get your sleep, get your rest, and learn to value yourself like that. And you know, we'll help you. We're here to answer the questions and help. Stay engaged in forums and TV programs and your Facebook or YouTube just like this, so you can stay keyed into the newest, best things, that the innovation that's out here to help. And I don't want anybody to be discouraged, because with what you do, you're one of the heroes in this whole world. And so know that. I don't care what anybody else says. Everybody else doesn't count. The appellate law enforcement, the citizens out here that appreciate you, do count.
Well, I think the one thing that I've often valued you for is several years ago, when you and I became seriously talking about this, is you didn't give it all to me at once. You gave me a small portion of things, said, hey, succeed here. And I think that was, you know, going to the gym 3 times a week, you know. And then once I achieved that, and then you said, well, drink this much water. You gave me a second piece. And you slowly but surely, over the course of time, filled in that entire pie with different pieces. And I think we sometimes make a mistake by trying to do it all at once, or trying to go to that, you know, quick scheme, so to speak. I mean, you can take us all day long, but if you're not filling in the other pieces of the pie, you're really wasting your money.
That's right. The great analogy you just gave is no one can eat the whole pie at once. You have to take it in bites. And I'm not saying anybody goes out there and eat pie. I mean, that contains inflammatory ingredients. I think the first thing that people can do is try to increase vegetable content in their life. That's the first thing I would tell people. I mean, don't worry about anything else. We need vitamins and minerals, but increase your vegetable content and increase your micronutrients in your system. Do that first and give yourself a chance. Yeah. Because if you're eating poorly, that's going to provide a lot of challenges. And I think right behind that, a little tiny bit, would be to learn to maximize your rest. Even if you haven't organized your time properly right now and you're only getting 5 hours of sleep, maximize the sleep. Yeah. Maximize that so you can at least get a little bit of rest. And as you feel better, you're probably going to start exercising, you're probably going to start losing some weight, and you're probably going to feel a whole lot better about your life and probably start setting boundaries that are going to help you.
Tracy has a question for us, and she's been experimenting with the paleo diet. Mm-hmm. And I know a little bit about it, read a little bit about it. I know there's lots of resources out there. Talk to our audience about what that is, and would you recommend it or not?
The Paleolithic diet is more or less a very high quality fat diet. It does not have grains in it or sugars. So it has meat, natural, you know, organic, farm-raised type of meat. It has fruits, and it has vegetables. Mm-hmm. You can also have nuts and seeds. So it's a very natural, more or less a primal type of nutritional protocol. Right. Here's the benefits. It's more of how we are as a people. We have not evolved enough, as I've shared from genetic testing, to handle the ability to handle refined carbohydrates. There's a gene that's specific, and I won't go into it, but it says that as a people we haven't evolved to handle them. So Paleolithic is where we need to be. Right. But here is the drawbacks. We need to put a limit on caloric load. You just can't eat as much as you want to. Right. If you are overweight and carrying extra fat right now, it doesn't make sense to put in a whole lot of fat, because you're not going to lose body fat. We've talked about that before. You have to turn your body into a fat burner. Okay. Once the body fat gets low and controlled at a normal level where you need to be, Paleolithic works incredibly well. Paleolithic or even Mediterranean in those styles. That's where I get all my patients eventually, and they get in a place where they can stay.
So you
right
actually
there.
put your patients on the paleo
I do.
diet.
I do, and I have to work them down there strategically, going more of a lower fat and teaching them how to burn body fat instead of put fat in.
Let's say you're the guy or gal that's working shift work. You're hitting the drive-through every day. I'll tell you, back in my heyday, I just get hungry and just start looking around and just pull into anywhere I wanted. There was no planning whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so you're going to move towards a paleo diet. I mean, it's kind of a lot to expect to just go full-born into it. What would you say to just start? I mean, would you just say no bread? Would you say add vegetables? How would you get them started down that road?
Well, I would definitely work on two things. I would definitely work on adding vegetables. That's a gimme. And I'd say start off with two vegetables a day.
Now, not every vegetable, right?
Not every vegetable. When we're talking about vegetables, I'm talking about green vegetables specifically. You want to kind of avoid the root vegetables such as a white potato because of the glycemic load. Secondarily, understand that sugars, grains, and breads are problematic for our society. So consider giving up one of those for a week and see how you feel. Follow it up the next week by giving up the other one and give it another week, and then you've gone a whole 7 days without either. There's a plan in the Quest for Wellness that teaches people how to wean off of sugar and these grains and breads, but doing that, I mean, there's even the Whole 30 plan out there that I push people to sometimes. Give up all unnatural refined ingredients. That's a little more radical and a little more difficult, especially with the stress of law enforcement.
I've often heard that when you go in the grocery store, as long as you shop on the outside, you're doing pretty well. Is that true?
Yeah, that's very true. Stay on the inside. That's where the boxed foods are.
Okay.
If it's not packaged the way God packaged it, probably don't need to buy it.
Gotcha. What about the stress that law enforcement's encountering? I mean, we're encountering extreme amounts of stress. It's unprecedented, the pressure and the expectations that are placed upon law enforcement, and that has a cumulative toll, so to speak. In addition to many agencies are short-staffed, so people are working longer hours. What would you tell those officers that just feel that weight upon them?
Yeah, that weight is real. It's massive, and no one understands like the person that's carrying the weight at the time.
Right.
I would say, go back to the whole idea of, take it one moment at a time, moment by moment. Try to breathe, try to relax, get control of this thing, because overstressed systems will be hormonally dysfunctional. It will be fatigue will develop, weight gain will develop, heart conditions, diabetes, cancers, of course high blood pressure. That's a give me. But slow down. Don't be afraid to take a few minutes to just be quiet. I find that the noise is so chaotic, and people that are stressed out. But one of the greatest exercises I've ever said to anybody to do is take 60 seconds, turn off the noise, and just sit there in silence and just understand where you are, what you're doing, and how you feel right now. Don't say anything, just be quiet for 60 seconds. If you haven't done that before, it's almost a discomforting experience. But you'll find out if you can practice that 1 minute of silence every day, you'll begin to experience the joy of quieting down your soul.
1 minute of silence.
1 minute.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's a great exercise, and you really have to work at it. But you'll find that 1 minute goes to 5, and then you can somehow find peace in the midst of a chaotic situation.
Can you tell my man crush here? I mean, what a guy. Huh? It's okay. It's 2016. Get over it. Don't get upset.
Oh, wow.
Chicago Cubs or Cleveland Indians? Which one?
Cleveland is really hot right now. I must say I'm rooting for the Cubs for historical reasons.
But do you really want the Cubs to win, though? I mean, it's been 108 years.
I know.
Wouldn't it be sad if it wasn't 109? I mean, it's been fun to talk about.
This is a year where two teams really have a lot of opportunity. I mean, look at Cleveland. They won their first championship with basketball.
Don't you think the Cubs probably stole it from the Dodgers, though?
I don't know about that. I'm rooting for the Cubs. I don't know if they're going to get past a hot Cleveland team, but
what a game last night.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And if you're watching us right now, you're missing the game, and that's okay because I don't watch till the 7th inning on anyway.
Yeah, that's the important
part. That's when the managers start managing. I mean, this is a little unknown fact about Mark. You played professional baseball.
I did.
And as you well know, managers don't start managing until the 7th inning.
Well,
they just let them play.
They let the game kind of develop because every game is a game within itself. It has a personality. Is this going to be a game with low scoring or high
Now, what
scoring?
position did you play?
I was a catcher.
Did your body look like this back then?
Yeah, I was a little less muscular. I could move a little bit more limber, a little bit. Yeah.
What made you decide? Because I know you went into bodybuilding after baseball. What made you sort of decide to go that route?
Bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Probably the competitive nature. You know, everybody.
You got done with baseball, and you just had that competitiveness still in you, right?
Everybody's. You know, if you're a police officer, you're an athlete of some sort. You know, and I told you a long time ago, you got to find that athlete again in you, that thing that little boy or little girl thing that gives you great joy, that competitive spirit to go win the game, to celebrate. Everybody needs to find that, and I find that the tragedy behind some law enforcement.
Many people that all of us in law enforcement have a small window. You know, a 20, even a 30-year career is just a fraction of our life. And so you have a very limited amount of time to maximize that. I can tell I'm looking at Mark, and I think you did just shy of 25 years.
I did.
And man, he maximized every second of that. I'm talking, I mean, I'm not gonna embarrass him and tell you all of his accomplishments, but he's a man that maximized everything, and it's sent him to a second career where he's able to really achieve, because he achieved almost everything you would ever want to do in the first career. And so we can sit around and moan, we can sit around and complain, we can sit around and talk about the presidential election, this and that, and woe is me, but you're losing time. And I think we've got to maximize every waking minute, because one day we're all going to sit down, Mark, and we're not going to be able to go to those calls and meet those kids. We're not going to be able to get into the community. We're not going to be able to arrest bad guys and to help victims. I mean, we're just not going to. There's a small window in our careers to do that, and we've got to maximize that, right?
We have to, and don't live your life with regret. The woulda, shoulda, coulda mentality. And I said something today that kind of hit me. I don't know where it came from. Probably I do. But when you live life looking in the rearview mirror with a view of cynicism, you will crash into your future. And I don't want anybody to crash into their future. You have this one little snippet of time to enjoy. I mean, like right now, I hope people are enjoying themselves. I hope they're having a great time, and I hope they're getting motivated, encouraged, and informed with stuff. And don't wait until tomorrow what you can do today. Man, it's that important. And if I had my way, I would want to get in everybody's living room and say, come on, let's go do this thing. Whatever your greatest dream is, go do it. Get a plan and go do it. Don't wait, because your life, your body, your situation only comes around once. If you blow it, you're going to get to 70 years old or wherever, and you're going to say, man, I wish I'd have done that. I could have done that if I'd have tried. Well, don't be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person. Be a can-do person. Do that thing right now. I remember when I retired, people thought I was crazy. But something inside me said I could. And I followed that I could mentality. And I'm not perfect. I have struggles like everybody else, but I'm not going to quit. And I find people lose the desire to keep going because they've been beat down so much. And no time like today is the statistic you shared earlier at the top of the program. Law enforcement satisfaction is high, coming from the viewpoint of the public, and that's something to really wrap your arms around. I hope everybody reads that article 5 times tonight and refreshes that they're important. I'm a citizen now. I'm an ex-law enforcement officer. I need the police officers out here to do well, to be well, and that's why I'm really highly endorsing, getting your life in order, because you're valuable.
Speaking of endorsing, we had a question about a potential Clinton presidency. I'm not going to ask you the question, but I will ask you this, and I'll tell our audience that the next time they see us on Officer Live, there'll be a new elect president to be. Just general thoughts on what you've seen go on in this campaign season.
It's been a lot of ugliness. I've watched 2 platforms, be pretty strenuous about their positions. I've watched a lot of backbiting, a lot of attempts to destroy people's character and lives. But here's the deal. I look at it like this. There are opposing forces that are clear, opposing positions. For me, it makes me ill to think that a third-term baby could be killed. One position supports that, one position's against it. There is one position that has all appearances of trying to weaken or disempower police departments. The other position tends to want to support it. There is one position that tends to be anti-Christianity and multi-inclusionary in their viewpoints. And there's one side that says, Christians matter, And a matter of fact, all people matter. And I see those opposing forces, and I think that's what it boils down to. When people cast their vote, which is a great liberty, you know, don't think it doesn't count because you did the ability to cast the vote. But vote on what the platform is going to be. And I really vote for people that have the courage to do things like law enforcement. Not everybody can be a police officer. Not everybody's got the guts to run for president, knowing that you're going to have your character assassinated no matter what you do. So, you know, not to endorse a candidate or anything like that, but vote with a moral responsibility with what you believe to be where you stand. And whatever they do once they get in office, that's up to them. But vote with what their appearance is right now. And I think that's the greatest responsibility we have. You know, don't vote for what we think is going to happen. Vote for where they stand right now, what they say right now. And people change. Man, I know that both camps have been criticized for what they've said in the past. Some have said they're sorry, some have said they're not. But understand people make mistakes. Don't condemn somebody because they made mistakes. You judge, in a sense, you weigh out what they're saying now, what those stances are. And that, to me, is the real issue here, that people need to get all the clutter out of the way and look at the facts.
I see what you did there. You didn't give a name, but you sort of lined some things out.
Yeah, I did. And I am, and I'll just say it like this, I'm concerned about the appearance of where the Clinton campaign is going. I'm encouraged about where the appearance of the Trump campaign is appearing to go.
Isn't it fascinating, though, if you pay attention to some of these WikiLeaks emails, which I know everybody just goes, Russia, you know, there's no, but isn't it really interesting to see the inner workings of a high echelon political campaign, and to see some of the things being said and done? It really should be eye-opening for the common citizen.
Yeah, I think you know, there's, you know, bottom line is we have to look behind the scenes and see what is being done and what has been done. History tells us a powerful lesson, and we have to pay attention to history to learn those lessons, and hopefully we learn them so we can make good decisions to make our future better.
And your premiums will go down.
That's right. That's right. And right now, what we're doing is not working. I'll tell you right now, system's not working. People are getting, it's not the Affordable Care Act, it's the Unaffordable Care Act right now for people.
The interesting thing I saw about that, and of course we're getting off topic, I do have a question for you here in a minute, is I read where there were 10 million people added to the insurance rolls through this. Well, that's less than 10% of our population. So we have basically increased insurance for everybody to add less than 10% of the population on insurance. Now, I'm not dismissing that less than 10%, but it certainly seems to be a little unfair balanced here, that 90% of the people are literally just either paying a huge penalty or fine, or their insurance has skyrocketed to put 10 million on the polls, which is less than 10% of our population.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's the idea of equality, and I get the concept of equality, but that's like saying you and I go to college and I study and make an A, and you don't study and get a C, and that's not fair. So I have to give you a grade down. I have to go down to a B, and I got to give you one up a B.
Odd.
That doesn't make sense because we work hard for that.
And this, of course, affects law enforcement.
It does,
because we may have a decent plan now, but when you retire and you get away from whatever your carrier is, you've got to possibly go into this type of health care issue, or it causes rates to go up. I mean, I know everyone's rates have gone up anyway because of this, whether you're in it or not. So it does affect it, because it could affect retirement dates, it could affect the future. You know, you take somebody that's maybe getting a 60, 70% pension, and you give them a $2,000 health care bill, it's over with, right? I mean, you can't really live on that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a personal story. You know, my wife and I have a very high deductible plan now, which it makes it affordable.
Insurance companies love you, though.
They love us, but here's the thing. Everybody should try to live in a way that they don't have to go visit the doctor. The doctor and insurance has become something it never was supposed to be. Insurance was supposed to be to help you if you had a catastrophic, monumental occurrence that was rare. We have went to something else. It's become a pill farm, and unfortunately, that's not health. That's disease and condition management. And I'm not about that. And I know law officers not about that. We're about healing people from the inside out. And to me, a doctor's there to help you if you have a catastrophic condition, need a surgery. They're not there to babysit you with your health. That's our responsibility as people. And I hope people are catching this. You know, don't live in a way to be dependent on medications. Medications are not meant to heal you. They're meant to provide Band-Aids to a wound, but not provide healing to that wound.
Right. Devin has a question. Last question of the night. Thank everybody for joining in with us. He works out late at night after work. He sleeps great for about 3 hours, and then it's like a light switch comes on, and he wakes up from his sleep. Well, how can you help him with that?
Devin's experiencing a little bit of a bounce back from a fight or flight hormonal surge. The cortisol's going up when he's working out, and then he's having a crash afterwards because he's sleepy. And because he had the crash, it's a blood sugar crash, and it's causing his system to go into another stress mode. So when that hypoglycemic moment is happening, it's disturbing his sleep. So what Devin needs to do is a couple things. Number one is Devin, after you work out, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a liquid protein shake in and make sure it is either a whey protein with no sugar or a pea protein with no sugar, and have that with a little bit of unsweetened nut milk.
And if he has a problem finding that, you probably offer that up, right?
Yeah, you can get a hold of us on our website, and I can direct him to places.
Yeah, and if you just getting all mixed up in that, just contact us through lawofficer.com. We'll hit you over to Mark.
And then also get what we call rest. That has normal
melatonin with BluArmor.
Correct. Yeah. BluArmor rest. That's going to give him melatonin. It's going to give him some 5-HTP to calm that system down. Okay. It's going to give him these relaxing botanicals that's going to help.
And I will tell Devin with rest, I'm on rest. It's one of my favorite, that and focus. I just take one pill. The bottle says prescribes 2, but I just take one pill.
Yeah, start with one.
It's perfect for me.
Start with one and work to 2 if you need to, but one typically works great.
So that means in a bottle you're going to get 2 months worth. If you do
that's a great formula. I use it every day, and I take one myself. That's all you need, really.
Yeah, I've tried to take 2. And every once in a while, I would feel a little bit of grogginess from that. So 1 is right in the sweet spot.
Yeah, and it's all natural. It helps your own hormonal system work to regulate sleep, and truly, like the formulation is called rest. You need rest to recover, and Devin needs to recover those muscles. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect time to take it because it's going to help him maximize recovery.
We talked about the book earlier. We actually have a question. They want you to tell the book name, where to get it. And I'll just ask you, in addition to that, why'd you decide to write the book?
I saw a problem. We're not getting it. There was a lot of need out there for a step-by-step process on how to walk through life and be diligent about making progression physically, emotionally, intellectually, and even spiritually at the same time. So it's a step-by-step process. Wherever you are on the wellness journey, there's something in there for you. And truly, I can say, as a former law enforcement officer, I understand.
Right.
And the classic doctor doesn't understand. I understand, man. I've been there. And you can get the book through sherwoodwellness.tv or simply on Amazon. Just punch in The Quest for Wellness.
The Quest for Wellness.
The Quest for Wellness. And there's plenty there. It's a hard copy, a bound book, so it's a good resource for you. We talk about supplementation, ways to get off of sugars and artificial sweeteners and breads and grains. But it's for everybody, and it's truly our heart. Second book's coming, but this one's our heart. It's our heart, and we want to help people get well.
Susan asked that question about the book. I told her what I'm going to do for Susan. Thank you for watching, Susan. I'm going to give you that book. So to get the book, Susan, you just need to send me an email. I don't need 50 Susans. Send me an email. I need the Susan.
Or people identifying themselves as Susan, right?
Yeah, photocopy your ID. No, you don't have to do that. I mean, you don't have to do that to vote in America. Why would you have to do that to get the book, right? Yeah. It's crazy to me. But anyway, you have to have an ID to... Susan, email us at lawofficer.com. Just go to lawofficer.com, hit the contact button. It'll come through and give us your address. We'll send you that book for free. Wow. Thank you for asking. We want everybody else to go catch Mark's book out.
Yeah.
I'll tell them this, it's coming, but we're working on something bigger and better at lawofficer.com where you're going to have access to Mark's book. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Mark, any closing statements? It's been a great show.
No, I appreciate it, Travis, as well. Look forward to returning again. I appreciate the questions most of all because your questions that you ask provide information to other people that may be asking or having the same question. And avail yourself to quality. You get what you pay for.
Right.
You get what you pay for. And truly, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hope tonight and every night's been enjoyable, informative, and encouraging for you.
You've been tuning in to Law Officer Live. Dr. Mark Sherwood, the real deal. Thank you for watching. Check out BluArmor. We thank our sponsor, In the Line of Duty Films. Get that free 2-week trial with them at their website. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.